1370. You're listening to Retirement Journey with Justin Fort, where it's all about the health, wealth, and freedom you need to live life your way, all the way. And I'm Justin. I'm here in studio with my sidekick, Jennifer.
Good afternoon.
And you can call us live at 512-390-1370 or send us your questions and comments to ask@fortwm.com. So we have an amazing show for you today. We're excited to have you tuning in. And if you didn't know, April is Parkinson's Awareness Month.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's an estimated like 10 million people worldwide living with Parkinson's.
Yeah, and so we're really especially happy to have Richard London, who's the author of A Handbook for Life. And, you know, Richard's been through a lot in his life. Not only does he have Parkinson's, but he's been through a number of other calamities and adversities, and nothing seems to stop him from living life to the fullest, not even Parkinson's disease. You may know little about Parkinson's, other than the fact that Michael J. Fox and Muhammad Ali have it. Well, Richard London is going to share vital information about the disease and who's most at risk, and even more, he'll inspire you and us to be successful and happy through life's journey, no matter what your circumstances. So we're excited to have Richard London on here in a minute. But first, I just wanted to talk about... In fact, we had a great seminar, actually Tuesday and Thursday this week.
We did, yes.
Yeah, we were at Mandola's. We had a lot of people show up, and we had a great seminar on Social Security. But we talked about how Social Security is going to be used inside of a retirement plan, and how to maximize your benefits, get the most out of Social Security, and what that means for folks that have money in the market. And, you know, a lot of people that stuck around after the seminar were asking me questions about whether or not I felt that the market was going to be going up or down this year, and whether or not it was time to sell. You know, we've had the last couple of months, really the first quarter of this year has been kind of flat with the market, and that's different than what we've seen the last 5-6 years. We've had quite a bull run, and I think a lot of us have kind of gotten spoiled with these awesome returns that we've had in the United States. And so the question now is whether or not it's time to take some of the winnings off the table and make sure that we have a solid retirement. And so to answer that question, we're going to talk about this a little bit later in the show, but I just wanted to tell you, last week, you know, if you've lived in Austin for some time, you know that the weather is very volatile and it's very difficult to predict. Mm-hmm. Last week, I took my family bowling, and we got lucky, and we didn't get hit with the hail that came down and really pummeled Lakeway and some other areas here in Central Texas. And when we were driving back, we saw the hail on the side of the road, and near our house, it looked like it snowed. Really strange, right? I mean, now, you know, today we look outside, we've got, you know, probably 90-degree weather, sunny, beautiful day.
Very nice.
Clear skies. So the weather can change, and it's very unpredictable here in Central Texas. Well, that's kind of like the stock market. You know, it's very difficult to predict the stock market movements, the ups and the downs. But, you know, if you're relying on the stock market to produce a retirement for you, you may want to stay tuned, because we're going to talk about whether or not the stock market's going to be going up or down this year, what that means to you, and how you can actually take control of your retirement and not be at the mercy or the whim of an unpredictable thing like the stock market. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So Jennifer, can you tell us a little bit about our guest today?
Absolutely. Richard is host of the internet talk show Health Chat with Richard London. He's an author and motivational speaker. He speaks across the U.S. and Canada, sharing secrets with people with Parkinson's and their caregivers on how to live well with the disease. He's undergone 9 surgeries following a life-changing automobile accident that put him in and out of the hospital for 10 months. My goodness. In 2003, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer and is now an 11-year cancer survivor. 2 years after his cancer diagnosis, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
Wow. So, Richard, we're excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, Justin. Hello, Jennifer.
Hello there.
Great. Well, Richard, you've obviously overcome a lot, and you wrote a book about this, and we really admire your tenacity and your drive and motivation to push through life's roadblocks. And, you know, we all have roadblocks. Some of us have more than others, and you've been quite a bit. So What do you think gives you that kind of a drive?
Well, I think the most important thing that I eventually came to determine and adopt as a philosophy in life was we all deserve to be happy, to enjoy our lives to the fullest. And the biggest way to do that is to decide not to look on yourself as a victim of your circumstances and to control what you can control and accept what you can't.
Right. And so, Richard, the book that you wrote, A Handbook for Life, we've got a copy here in the studio with us that we're going to be giving out to a caller or an individual that sends us an email to ask@fortwm.com. Very motivational book. I think it's great for all of us to be positive in spite of adversities. And I always think of what Donald Trump says. He says, you just got to roll with the punches.
Yeah,
right?
we can't change the cards we're dealt. We just have to decide how we're going to play the hand. And one of the things about the book, A Handbook for Life, is it's, as you're alluding to, is it's a general philosophy roadmap on how to overcome obstacles and challenges in life. The book itself is not Parkinson's specific.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more with you, Richard, when we get back from this break we got to go to. So we're going to talk about the disease. We're going to talk about your book and some of the challenges and how you overcame that, and what we can all learn from what you've done with your life. So this is the Retirement Journey with Justin Fort, where it's all about the health, wealth, and freedom you need to live life your way, all the way. And I'm Justin. And remember, you can call us live at 512-390-1370 or send us your emails, questions to ask@fortwm.com. And we'll be back in a minute. This is Talk 1370. This is Talk 1370. You're listening to Retirement Journey with Justin Fort. You can call us live at 512-390-1370 or send us your questions and emails to ask@fortwm.com. And we're visiting with Richard London, the author of A Handbook for Life. And Richard, we're back, and we wanted to ask you a little bit about Parkinson's disease, and there's some misunderstandings that related to that disease. Can you tell us a little bit?
Sure. Well, like you had said earlier at the beginning of the show, most people don't know much more about Parkinson's than the fact that Michael J. Fox and Muhammad Ali have it, some other celebrities. Parkinson's is defined as a degenerative neurological disease that currently Western medicine does not have a cure for. Most people diagnosed with Parkinson's are in their 60s. Young onset Parkinson's, and this is one of the myths, is that it's not just an old person's disease. Young onset Parkinson's is for anyone diagnosed 50 or younger. I was 49 when I was diagnosed. 20% of the people diagnosed with Parkinson's disease are under 50. 10% are under 40, and I personally know 3 people in their 20s who have Parkinson's.
Wow. Had no idea. So so you said there's no cure for it, but there are some medications, and are there issues with the medications?
The primary medication for Parkinson's was developed actually about 50 years ago. That's 50 years ago. And it's still the gold standard. That does not say a lot for any kind of progresses in the medical community to fight Parkinson's with drugs. As a matter of fact, the medication that they prescribe just hides the symptoms as the disease progresses. They increase the person's dosage until they can't increase it anymore. So people have to rely on other modalities to try to live their lives well, and there's a number of ways people have discovered, and I've discovered to do that.
Yeah, that's great. I noticed with a lot of diseases like this where maybe a minority of people in the United States or in the world have a disease like this, it seems like a lot of the drug companies don't want to spend the resources to do the research to come up with new medications. And so then maybe you're stuck with the 50-year-old medication?
Well, now you're letting me get up on my soapbox.
I'm trying to tee it up for you.
Thank you. There's more people with Parkinson's than with MS, muscular dystrophy, and ALS combined. We all know last summer the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, where they raised hundreds, thousands of dollars for ALS. The U.S. government actually dedicates money for research and helping people with diseases, but on a per capita basis, between Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, they give 1/30th the amount per capita for people with Parkinson's than they do with Alzheimer's. So that's pretty frustrating.
Yeah, and if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Retirement Journey with Justin Fort, and we're visiting with Richard London, the author of A Handbook for Life. And, his book really provides clear, direct instruction for overcoming life's most common obstacles to happiness and success. And if so, if you've got some minutes a day, so he says 15 minutes, you can use his book. It has simple exercises, easy to read style, and real-life examples to stop reacting to life situations and start living the happier, more fulfilling life you desire. And, Richard, in your book, you talk about exercise. Why is that so important?
Well, any doctor is going to tell you, no matter what you have, even if you don't have a specific chronic ailment, exercise is tremendous for your body, for keeping things going, for cardiovascular, for your stress, for all sorts of levels. The biggest thing with Parkinson's, and I had mentioned a minute ago, that Parkinson's medications only hide the symptoms as the disease progresses. As I talk around the country, and I speak through the U.S. and Canada, talking to other people with Parkinson's, in addition to my own experience, exercise is about the only thing that we found to actually reverse the symptoms of Parkinson's disease and reverse the tremors and the muscle rigidity and some of the balance issues.
Yeah, and I know that I like to exercise when I have time, and I know that I feel better when I do. Right, I get the dopamine or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Right. And I know I read a little bit. I'm no doctor on this, I'm no expert, but I read a little bit about Parkinson's, and I learned that Parkinson's can actually attack the dopamine-producing regions of the brain, and so maybe exercise can help in some way.
Absolutely. When people actually present with Parkinson's symptoms to their doctor with the muscle rigidity and the tremors and other physical signs, at that point they've probably lost 85 to 90% of their dopamine production in their brain.
Wow.
So whatever you can do to get your body going, it's a use it or lose it kind of mentality. And one of the things, Justin, and you said it, we all are guilty of the fact that, well, we know we'll feel better when we get done exercising or doing whatever, but it's just that getting that motivation. When you have a chronic disease of any sort or a chronic physical condition, in my opinion, that disease is going to be there and progress whether you do something and push against it every day or not. So I think we have, especially for people, MS, muscular dystrophy, cystic fibrosis, and these are all diseases that affect the neurology of the body. You got to keep the body moving and keep things flowing, keep the blood flowing in the brain, get the brain synapses firing, and keep your muscles going.
Right, and even if it's just whatever you can do, right? I mean, I've got some friends that go to the gym with me, and one individual is actually in a wheelchair, but that doesn't stop him. He rolls over to the pull-up bars, and he gets out of the wheelchair, and he does it. He wants to do everything on his own, and he climbs up and does pull-ups.
Wow, that's awesome.
Well, that's you got to look at what you can do, focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. There's things. I'm 9 years now into my Parkinson's journey. There's things I can't do today that I used to be able to do. I just accept that. You define your new normal. Redefine whatever normal is for you.
Never give up. That's one thing that my son says. I guess he learned this in school. He said, never give up, Dad. So that's a good motto to have for life, right? So what has really helped you, in your opinion, overcome your issues and have this kind of mindset that you have?
Well, first of all, by having the number of different challenges that I faced in my life, started when I was 19 years old, hit by a car, lying in a hospital room. I thought all my dreams in life were shattered. My goal was to be a special agent for the FBI. My major in college was law enforcement. Basically had to come to the realization at one point that having a pity party and looking at myself as a victim of whatever just happened to me would do absolutely nothing to progress through my life. So I changed my major to computer science, wound up having a 35-plus year career in the computer field and started 3 different computer companies. Then I had my cancer diagnosis in 2003, and one of the things my parents had always kind of taught me was that all problems in life are temporary. And so I decided I need to find a way to make my cancer diagnosis a temporary one. Did the research, decided that a removal of the prostate was the best decision for me. I had my prostate removed, and I'm now an 11-year cancer survivor. Then less than 2 years after my cancer surgery, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And once again, I had just the mindset of, I've got to find a way to make this a temporary problem. So rather than get overwhelmed with everything that's on the internet about how bad Parkinson's is and that your brain cells are going to be dying every day, I decided to immerse myself in resources of people who have already found ways to live well with the disease.
Yeah, and that's why we're so excited to have you here on the Retirement Journey Show with us today, Richard. And the fact that you wrote this Handbook for Life to help other people is in and of itself a phenomenal thing for you to be doing. And, all of us have things that life throw at us. And I've heard a saying once, they said that if you cry, life ignores you. But if you laugh, life laughs with you. Right? And so it doesn't profit you to give up and cry and to say there's no hope for me. Because really, in a lot of ways, what we do is somewhat of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, Richard, I've got to go to a break here in a minute. And I just wanted to ask you a number of other questions here about your book and things that people can do to improve their outlook and to take charge of their life, regardless of their circumstances. So when we get back, we're gonna visit with you a little bit more about that. So this is Justin. The show is Retirement Journey, and this is all about the health, wealth, and freedom you need to live life your way, all the way. And this is Talk 1370. Talk 1370, you're listening to Retirement Journey with Justin Fort. You can call us live at 512-390-1370 or send us your emails, questions and comments to ask@fortwm.com. We're visiting with Richard London, author of A Handbook for Life. Richard's been through a lot in his life, including Parkinson's disease, car accidents, and you name it. So we're back, and we're excited to learn a little bit more that we can from Richard today.
Now, Richard, I have a question. What inspired you to publish A Handbook for Life? And you also have an audio series. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Jennifer, I had gone through the stuff that I went through, and found that I was looking at my life saying, gee, have a very good attitude of what's going on. I've accomplished quite a bit, both personally and professionally. What is it, I asked myself, that sets me apart and makes me any different from somebody else who had gone through a fraction of what I have, and they have a pretty negative attitude or live in their pity party every day. So I decided to write the book, A Handbook for Life, putting together the mindset of what it was that I found has helped me, but I don't know about you, but I had read a number of other self-help books over the years. There's a lot of good ones out there, but the problem that I saw with them was that too many of them required too much for the reader to change in their life. They basically have to change everything in their lifestyle in order to adopt this new attitude. So Handbook for Life is a quick, short read. It's got, somebody can sit down and read it at one sitting if they want to. It's got exercises at the end of every chapter that ask them to examine some things in their self and their life, and then another exercise that says, all right, over the course of the next week, change this one thing or try this one thing. So that's the basis of what I set out to do with a Handbook for Life. And it, like I had said before, it's generic. The interesting thing is, the first draft of the book, I did a word search. I did not mention the word cancer or Parkinson's once in the entire book. And the reason was because as I looked at it and thought about that, my challenges don't define me who I am.
Right.
Your attitude defines who you are.
That's true.
So
tell me about your laughter presentation. That's interesting.
I do laughter presentation in front of groups. The way that it started after my first book came out, I was contacted by a company that wanted to do a book review, so I figured, well, I needed to get on their website and see some of the reviews they did so I can know what questions to expect. And they had reviewed a book by Dr. Madan Kataria in Mumbai, India, called Laugh for No Reason. Dr. Kataria did research on the health effects of stress, the health benefits of laughter. There's tremendous benefits to laughter. He started a laughter club in the park of Mumbai with about 6 people. Currently, there's about 8,000 clubs in 60 countries.
Wow.
So I was so enamored with that, I put the book down, went to a laughter session, and said, this is something that I need to show other people about. And I go and I'll do a laughter session in groups of 200 people with cancer survivors or people with Parkinson's or whatever, and they're laughing, they're enjoying it, their body is less stressed, their endorphins are flowing. 10 minutes into it, I asked, all right, how many people over the last 10 minutes forgot that you had Parkinson's disease or forgot that you had whatever the issue was? And typically more than half the hands in the room will get raised.
That's funny. Richard, I do this with my 4-year-old daughter when she cries, really for no reason. We do a little exercise where she shows me her smiley face.
Okay.
and I can tell that she's still wanting to cry, but when we smile together, after a little while, she actually forgets why she was crying, and we start to laugh. And so there definitely is a power in physically doing something and being able to change your mindset. So
absolutely. Well, laughter is contagious. I ask groups of this. So you walk into a room and everybody's laughing. What's the first thing that you do? You smile, and then you start to laugh. The second thing you do is you ask, what's so funny?
Yes. And, if you're just listening or tuning in to the Retirement Journey here with Justin Fort and Jennifer Carter, we're visiting with Richard London, who's the author of A Handbook for Life, a practical guide to success and happiness. We're talking about the power of laughter and how that can really make a difference in some cases, somewhat negative scenarios and adversities that life throws at us.
Justin, I have a gift for your audience, for anybody that wants it. I actually have a free monthly newsletter on my website that I'd be more than happy to let people sign up for and start getting to get these regular reminder tips on this attitude in life and enjoying life more.
Awesome. Tell us how our listeners can get a hold of that.
The best way is go to the website, www.ahandbookforlife.com. You do need the A. It's the name of the book, ahandbookforlife.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you can click on it. Just leave your email address, and you'll get my newsletter, regular words of encouragement, tips, life philosophies, things to help put your problems in their perspective and move on.
Yes, and so We have one copy of the book we're going to be giving out to one of our callers or an email that we get. And just to kind of wrap up here, Richard, we're really grateful that you came on the show. This is an important topic, and it's a timely month to have you on, since it's Parkinson's Awareness Month. What is your main focus now? What are you currently working on?
Currently, my main focus is getting people to realize that whatever challenges they have in their life, that they can overcome them. That the challenges are temporary. And people say, well, you mean even, my dad was just diagnosed with terminal cancer. That's temporary? Well, it really is. As soon as you decide what you're going to do about it and how you're going to deal with what you have to deal with, then you can stop stressing about it and work your plan. It's not cold saying the problems don't matter. Everything in life matters, but are you going to stress over the problem or stress over the solution?
That's a really good piece of advice. Mm-hmm. Well, Richard, we really appreciate you coming on. And remember, you can get Richard's newsletter. You can visit his website at ahandbookforlife.com. And we do have a copy of Richard's book, A Handbook for Life. It's a practical guide to success and happiness. And, it doesn't have to do exactly with Parkinson's, but really how we deal with the adversities that life throws at us. Could be good for us, our family. It's a positive way to think. And again, Richard, we're so grateful. We'd love for you to come back. So if you're willing, we'd love to have you back another time.
Thank you. I'd love to. And in answer to the question, Jennifer, you asked a little bit ago, anybody that gets on the website, there are Parkinson-specific CDs and DVDs there, so they can find that there also.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Outstanding. Okay, Richard, we're going to let you go. We appreciate you, and have a good one. We'll talk to you in the future.
I enjoyed it, guys. Look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
So if you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Retirement Journey with Justin Fort, where it's all about the health, wealth, and freedom you need to live life your way, all the way. And we just spoke with Richard London, an amazing story of perseverance mm-hmm. and positive thinking and taking control of, really making lemonade out of some lemons, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. So, how does that parlay into, your situation with respect to your life, your retirement? Well, we can take a lot of advice from what Richard's done in his life. No one's led a life without peril, without adversity. All of us have had situations where maybe it was a child, maybe it was a car accident, maybe it was a disability. And, if we haven't had those major things happen to us, we might in the future. So it's good to keep that in mind, that we really are in control of how we feel and our happiness. And, how that relates to retirement planning. During the week, I'm the president of Fort Wealth Management. And I have many people come to the office looking for advice, recommendations as far as planning their retirement. Should they have money here, money there? Does long-term care matter? Should they have it or not? Do they need a policy or not? And so, that's what we do during the week. And Jennifer is my executive assistant there at Fort Wealth Management. So we'd love for you to schedule an appointment mm-hmm. to visit with us. You can call us at 512-433-6492. That's our office line. And we'd love to sit down with you and take a look at what you're doing and how you can take charge and take control of your retirement, and whether or not life's provided lemons for you. We'll show you how you can turn those lemons into lemonade. Mm-hmm. Well, at the beginning of the show, we talked a little bit about the markets, and I just wanted to make some comments on what really questions we've been getting from a lot of people regarding whether or not the market's going to be going up or down. And, I related that a little bit to my experience with the weather here in Austin. It's very difficult to predict, sure. But, we can look at some signs, kind of read the tea leaves. We can look at the past, and we can see that markets go up and they go down. This is true. Mm-hmm. All right. And we've had a really long bull run, longer than the average mm-hmm. in the past. That doesn't mean it couldn't continue. But for many people, 2008 is, what you may be recalling is, one of the worst, market crashes ever. But really, if you look back to the tech crash, 2000, 2001, 2002, that was pretty bad too. And so these market cycles happen. And, 2008 was about 7 years ago, right? So we're all 7 years older, all of us, and we're 7 years closer to retirement. We're 7 years maybe further along into retirement. And so we're going to be wanting to treat our money differently now. And we're going to have a different outlook on the kinds of risks we want to be able to take with respect to our retirement. And, you don't have to be in a position where you're dependent on the market to make your retirement a reality. I just wanted to say that. I met with a couple just 2 weeks ago. They live out in Dripping Springs. Very conservative. He told me right away, he said, listen, Justin, I don't want to be at risk in the market. Okay. Mm-hmm. I've been retired since I was 39.
Wow.
I was surprised. And he said, I'm 58 now, and I really don't want to pay any taxes. Well, isn't that the dream, right? No risk in the market, not paying any taxes, or paying very little, if you will. So how is he doing that? And what kind of a plan could we put together with him to continue that for him throughout the rest of his life and his wife's life? And his wife recently retired from Freescale. She's got an IRA, so there's going to be some tax implications at some point. And they're still in their 50s here, but they're planning to retire and have a long life in retirement. So taxes are an issue. They don't want to be at market risk, and that can be done. So if that's something that you're interested in, I want you to know that you can visit with me, and I can show you how that may be done. And it may not be the right thing for you. Okay, it may not be possible with your situation. And remember, this show isn't about giving you recommendations, because I don't know your specific situation. But I want you to know that you can visit with me, and I know these techniques, okay, as a planner, a certified financial planner professional. I have my degree in finance, and I do this day in and day out during the week, and I can show you how this can be done in your best interest. Because remember, we have at Fort Wealth Management, we have a fiduciary duty to you and your family to make sure that your interests are ahead of ours. Listen, I've got to go to break, but when we get back, I want to talk a little bit more about that, how you can take control of your retirement destiny and not be at the whims of an ever-changing retirement, and not cry over spilt milk and make lemonade out of lemons. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get back. So this is Retirement Journey, Justin Fort with Talk 1370.
Take me through the night. Break down, now I'm standing here. Can you see? Break down, it's alright. And I'll begin dreaming.
This is Talk 1370. You're listening to Retirement Journey with Justin Fort. You can call us live at 512-390-1370 or send us questions and comments to ask@fortwm.com. Before we went to break, we were talking about the market. We were talking about how the markets can be unpredictable. And I just want to get this straight. I want you to know that I'm not anti really anything. I look at the market as a tool. When we say market, really, in my mind, I wonder what market we're talking about. There's the S&P 500. Well, that's different. That's a large cap, U.S. stock market, if you will, in the United States. But there are foreign markets. There's small caps. There's metals. There's all different types of asset classes out there that we can be investing in. And I look at these as tools. As a retirement planner, financial planner, investment advisor, I got to look at these tools and figure out which tools we're going to pick from and how we're going to build out a portfolio. But just so you know, not always do we have to use certain tools. We can actually get the job done with other tools. And a good analogy might be if you're trying to put a screw into a wall and you're using a shovel, I might ask you if you've ever heard of a screwdriver, right? There may be a tool designed for that job. And as a planner, my job is to look at what you want to do with your retirement and help you get that job done. Now, the tools we choose from, we've got a suite of tools in our bag, if you will, that we can pick from where appropriate and according to your risk profile and your tax situation and all of that, specific to what you need. And that's really important. That's the difference between working with a planner and someone that's just trying to sell you a product in our minds. So, just to kind of follow up with the unpredictability of the stock market, this is an interesting piece from the Wall Street Journal, November 7th, 2014. It says that entitled "Growing Economy Does Not Guarantee Stock Gains." Well, after sluggish growth, the U.S. economy is bouncing back, right? And it grew at an estimated 3.5% annual rate in the third quarter. And so that's pretty good. And also, San Francisco, according to this article, got a lot of rain last week, right? And so I'm reading this article. I'm wondering where this guy's going. And, what he says is, he says those two statistics may be equally useful at telling us where the stock market might go over the next year. Both predict, on average, roughly nothing about future market returns. And that is a takeaway of a study by Joe Davis, a chief economist of asset manager Vanguard Group. Mr. Davis and his colleagues looked at market data going back to 1926 and measured how popular economic yardsticks correlated with future returns of the S&P 500 index. The bottom line, what the economy is doing today tells us very little about what stocks might do tomorrow. And they say, in fact, no single metric, even the most intuitive, tells us much about where stocks might go next. Assuming this year's strong economic numbers bode well for stocks may seem logical, but history doesn't back it up. In fact, a lot of variables that investors scrutinize really don't matter that much. And, take gross domestic product. We talk about GDP, and that's kind of the granddaddy of economic metrics, which measures the size of the U.S. economy. What they're saying here in this article is that that's about as correlated or as useful a tool to predict the stock market movement as rainfall in San Francisco. I wonder what it would be if they compared it to rainfall here in Austin. So that's interesting. And also, if you're relying on someone to essentially predict the market movements for you, or that's part of your plan, you're relying on that. And if it doesn't work out in your favor, if you're at risk of running out of money, and if you've never been shown that, you need to come in and see us or work with a financial professional that can show you that. Because honestly, you don't have to be in that kind of position. Really, you shouldn't. That would really be kind of against our quote-unquote rules as far as financial planning standards would go. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't be in a position like that. Your risk profile doesn't allow for that kind of risk. Not that we're against the market. Remember, that's a tool. For some money or maybe all your money, that's fine. But if you're depending on that value there to be there for you in retirement, you got to be careful. And if you're trying to time the market, that could be bad. Now, there's another article here that's really interesting. This is from CNN Money, March 12th, 2015. It states that 86% of investment managers stunk in 2014. The managers stunk. Well, what are money managers really supposed to be doing? The mutual fund managers, these people that are saying, hey, you know what, we're going to be able to beat the market. Well, we all know the statistics are pretty bad. And this article from CNN Money just kind of illustrates that point again. And, I don't have a crystal ball in my office that works. And I've never met anybody that really, really can foretell the future. If you can, I'd love to meet you. And so because we don't know the future, we just have to understand that this tool, the market tool, is a tool to be used with caution and with prudence, right? We need to make sure that it fits into a plan for the amount of our assets that makes the most sense according to an overall financial plan. And so, paying a lot of money to an investment manager to beat the market, according to this article, just doesn't make a lot of sense. And I see that with folks that come into my office. I had a gentleman just the other day that came in and he said, I'm paying this lady about 1% in a wrap fee for an investment advisory account. And he said, well, I've got a bunch of large cap stocks. I said, okay. He said, well, I've got large cap stocks in my IRA because really I'm now retired recently as of a year and a half ago, and I need income. And so she said I should have all of my money in large cap stocks. So I'm thinking this guy's diversified. He's probably got, probably heavy to the U.S., which is normally what I find. But I had no idea after, he left me the statement to kind of do some, of our analysis that we do for everyone, kind of an x-ray, if you will. And I found that really he had two stocks that were just a massive portion of, really he had about $3 million in his IRA. And two stocks made up about $2.5 million of that. Just two stocks.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Everything that I've ever learned in my studies and the research and financial planning standards tells us that's not really what you want to be, where you want to be. He's not diversified in that sense, and that's fairly risky. But the bigger point, the high level point is he's relying on one tool to get the job done, and the job that he needs his money to do for him is income. Right? And, there's many other tools for that. And so he can actually be diversified across a variety of assets. You can do it through insurance companies. You can do it through, maybe some bonds, or there's a variety of different resources and tools to be able to use. And I just feel like he was being charged quite a bit for not a very creative, maybe not a very competitive plan. If that's your situation, and I'm sure he didn't understand that he had such a position in just two stocks. If that's your situation, you're not quite sure if the tools that you're using are really getting the job done, and if it feels like you have to be, according to the person that you're working with, at so much risk that you're uncomfortable. Okay, and you feel like. Because you need so much income and the amount of money that you've got, you need to be at so much risk. You really need to visit with us. I'd love to sit down with you and see if that's the case, because I've never really found a scenario where we have to put somebody at risk, where we have to. Okay? Because generally, the less you have in retirement assets, the more income you need. Really, the more you need to protect what you've got. It's not the other way around. Take Warren Buffett, for example. He's normally there's two things. There's age and there's wealth. Well, Warren Buffett has both those things. He's not a spring chicken, right? and he has a lot of money, so he can take a lot of risk because he's got a lot of money. But he's of the age now where normally we'd say, well, he's got to be a little more conservative. Well, because of the wealth he has, he doesn't have to. So really, there's those two things: age, nearness to retirement, and your wealth. That's going to really impact heavily your risk profile. And a risk profile is essentially how much you can put at risk. And we have tools and techniques in our office to use to determine how much that should be. And we'd love to visit with you about that. So feel free to give us a call at the office at 512-433-6492. I'd love to have you come in and just have a conversation, have a free consultation with you and see where you are. So if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Retirement Journey with Justin Fort. I'm here with Jennifer Carter, my executive assistant. And, the show's all about the health, wealth, and freedom you need to live life your way all the way. And we want you to be taking advantage of all that life has to offer and all the options out there with respect to the financial planning and investments and health. And that's why we bring on great speakers, authors, professors onto this show to keep you informed and up to date with how to construct your future so that you can live the retirement of your dreams. We're going to go to break now here in just a minute. We're going to be back with some other really important diamonds in the rough, or gems, if you will. You're going to want to stay tuned for that. So, again, the show is Retirement Journey with Justin Fort, where it's all about the health, wealth, and freedom you need to live life your way all the way. And this is Talk 1370.
Time is the essence. Time is the season. Time ain't no reason. Got no time to slow.
Talk 1370. You're listening to Retirement Journey with Justin Fort. You can call us live at 512-390-1370, or send us your questions and comments to ask@fortwm.com. And remember, we're giving away a book today by author Richard London. It's a handbook for life, a practical guide to success and happiness. Just wanted to kind of recap a little bit. The fact that the markets are unpredictable. And if you weren't aware about how stocks are priced, you can actually go, there's a helpful website I like to recommend. It's Investopedia.com. Actually, a lot of great articles and information on these different topics. There's a topic here, how are share prices set? And if you're not sure about how, or didn't know about how your stocks were priced and valued, so that they can be shown on your statements, and when you log in, you see your prices, you wonder how that's being done. There's a lot of information out there to help you with. But just so you know, once trading starts, share prices are largely determined by the forces of supply and demand. Right? After a company goes with their initial public offering, they've raised capital for some kind of a project or something they need to do. Now those shares are out in the open market, and they're going to be bought and sold by buyers and sellers or actors in the market, and often they're done through exchanges. And so we know that when there's a higher demand for stocks than there are supplies or people that are willing to sell the stock, what happens? Well, we know that stocks go up in price, right? Well, the reverse is true. When there's a large supply, people wanting to sell, they want to get out of a particular stock, there's not very many buyers around, we're going to see losses in that share price. That's the basic function. So it's very economical, if you will, supply and demand. And that's partly why predicting the stock market is so difficult, because really it's not so much. I mean, it is important to understand the fundamentals of a company and their outlook for generating revenues and their ROI or return on their investments, if you will, their balance sheets and things like that. But ultimately, the price is determined by buyers and sellers. And so we really kind of, when we're trying to predict the market, we're really trying to predict what we think people are going to be doing. And, nowadays with the internet and, speed trading and online trading and, brokerage accounts that people have access to, we've got participants from all over the world, from China to Europe, and they're participating in our market here and trying to predict what, how they feel about Apple stock or, Facebook or something like that is almost impossible, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's why really predicting the stock market is in some ways a loser's game. I would move to make it that way in terms of an explanation or an analogy. Okay, so Marty's back on the line. We're going to take this call really quick, and then we're going to wrap up the show here. So Marty?
Hello.
Hey, Marty, there you are. We lost you there for a minute.
Great. Hi, guys. I really enjoy your show. I've been listening every week. I'm not very new to town, but I've been enjoying it. Listen, here's the deal. I'm probably worse off than that guy that you talked about before that had 2.5 out of his $3 million in just a couple of stocks, because I have everything in my own company. I worked for the government for over 20 years, traveling mostly out of the country. It wasn't one of those high-paid jobs, but I got a little bit of a pension, came back, lost my wife, remarried about 5 years later. Thank you. And then I ended up basically starting a company with a partner, doing what I did for the government and now contracting to the government. So for like the last 5 years, it's been Fat City. And we just moved to town. My wife has relatives here. My new wife has relatives here. And so we wanted to be near family. But anyway, here's the deal. I got two things I'm looking for help with. One, buyer for the company, and it looks like my partner and I are going to be splitting somewhere between $6 million, depending on how we do this deal, $6 million and $9 million, depending. And then it could be a variety of things in between. And I wonder, I don't have the education. Can you help me figure out how to structure this? Can you help us figure out? We're both grunts, basically.
Wow.
And
well,
we need somebody who's got the brains.
Well, congratulations on making a big turnaround, I guess, with your career and being so successful here towards the end of your career, at least. And so,
well, I do have a $2,300 a month federal pension too, so I'm really doing good there too.
Right. Well, we're actually about out of time. This question is a complex question, and I apologize. But you've got our phone number. I'd love for you to come and visit with me. We can sit down and talk about these things.
On hold. Hey, hang on. What is your phone number?
It's 512-433-6492. So.
Marty.
512.
Yeah, and actually our board op will get you some more information as to how you can get in touch with us. But we do have.
I think you can do that though. Can you help with that kind of thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. So
that is great.
Okay.
Now I don't know what to do with my part of it.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we are out of time, and we'll have to let you go, but we'll look forward to visiting with you here in our office, and we'll try to do our best for you.
Yes, thank you, Marty.
So this is the retirement journey with Justin Fort, where it's all about the health, wealth, and freedom you need to live life your way, all the way. And we're going to be back next week, same time, same channel, 12:30 to 1:30, and we have a great show lined up. For next week, we're going to have a guest speaker, John McDonough. Mm-hmm. And, if you're paying for your child's education without going broke, just seems sometimes impossible. It's important to you, and you've likely lost sleep over it. Then there's also the whole retirement planning issue. You'd like to save for that as well. And if you only knew the steps to take and had a path to follow, well, then you're going to want to tune in to listen to what John has to say. He's the founder and principal of Studemont Group College Funding Solutions, and we'll be here with the facts you need and the steps to take while planning for college with retirement in mind. And we want to thank our guest, Richard London, and our callers, and Matt is our board op. Thank you very much. And we will be back next week. Again, this is Justin with Retirement Journey, Talk 1370.